if this scandal deepens, if public opinion turns, I have to say there's no sign yet of a massive upturn in Republican sentiment or negativity towards the king in particular. It is the Prime Minister who will have a crucial role in mediating and trying to advise the king on one course of action or another.
Let's start with the image on every front page today, bar one. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor slouching in a car, returning home after being arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. This morning, unmarked police vehicles have been arriving at Royal Lodge, continuing a search of Mountbatten-Windsor's family home. As I said earlier, the former prince has previously denied wrongdoing in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. The royal biographer Tom Bower spoke to Times Radio Breakfast.
The one thing about the monarchy is that it's been going on for 1,000 years, literally. And the idea that the king should abdicate because his brother has misbehaved is, in my view, ludicrous. I mean, the monarchy is a key institution of our history and constitution and existence. And he just has to get through this terrible catastrophe and crisis. But and the only way you can do that is by carrying on.
Well, there you go. It is the story that is obviously dominating the news agenda. And it's interesting, the two most prominent British people involved in this scandal, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and Peter Mandelson, have both been subject to investigation. Patrick, let's talk a bit about the politics of this. It occurred to me, obviously, that when Princess Diana died, Tony Blair had just become Prime Minister. And he and his team, whatever one thinks of Blair and his premiership, I think played a crucial role in helping the royal family understand the depth of public upset and anger. And in fact, Tim Allen, who recently departed as Keir Starmer's head of communications, was in Downing Street in 1997. But Keir Starmer doesn't quite have the same adept touch as Tony Blair did.
No, and you can't really imagine Keir Starmer having a People's Princess moment. I have to say, I'm not entirely sure what the equivalent of a People's Princess moment would be in this very grisly and at its heart very distressing story of abuses of power. I think what makes it more difficult for Keir Starmer to be seen to seize the agenda in this case is obviously the intersection with police investigations and legal processes, and also the fact that Peter Mandelson, a man Keir Starmer appointed to perhaps the most high-profile and important diplomatic role in the diplomatic service, the US ambassadorship, is embroiled in a similar investigation. Obviously, he hasn't been arrested yet, but we expect him to be interviewed under caution in the coming days. And all Keir Starmer can say, really, is what he has said, which is, nobody is above the law must be allowed to take its course. Heidi Alexander, the Transport Secretary, was on Question Time on the BBC last night and defended the broader institution of the monarchy. But let's remember, by the way, in our constitutional system, the monarch acts only on the advice of their ministers. So if this scandal deepens, if public opinion turns, I have to say there's no sign yet of a massive upturn in Republican sentiment or negativity towards the king in particular. It is the Prime Minister who will have a crucial role in mediating and trying to advise the king on one course of action or another. So Keir Starmer may yet be crucial, or who knows, Wes Streeting, Siobhan Mahmood, John Healey, Yvette Cooper, insert any other cabinet minister who wants to crack at it here.
I mean, I have to say, Debbie has already texted in to say why Peter Mandelson being arrested, and you said that you expect Peter Mandelson to be interviewed under caution in the next coming days. I mean, obviously we have film footage of cars arriving to arrest Andrew. Perhaps we'll see the same with Peter Mandelson. And indeed, we have almost forgotten the fact that lots of emails potentially could be released, our own version of the Epstein files, if you like, around Mandelson's appointment. So it seems to me that the next big story will be, as it were, a prominent government figure involved with Epstein.
Yeah, indeed. We expect the Mandelson files, as they're calling them in Westminster, that huge tranche of documentation that was successfully requested by the Conservative Party in a humble address, a parliamentary motion. The Labour Party wasn't strong enough to contest or resist. The expectation is they won't come on Monday when the House of Commons returns from its recess, but they will come at some point next week, the first tranche of those documents. We don't know exactly what they'll be, whether they'll be the internal government correspondence, whether we'll see more WhatsApps and messages between Peter Mandelson and government ministers, because that was also in the scope of the request. Any government minister or advisor will have to exchange and hand over their messages from Peter Mandelson. So, yeah, I expect this is going to be dominating the news next week and distracting from whatever Keir Starmer and his cabinet want to be talking about.
And will there be any partisan politics involved with the Andrew scandal, at least? It's hard. I mean, back in the day, obviously, you have this extraordinary grasp of political history. A Labour Party in the 70s and 80s probably would have had a vocal group of people promoting republicanism on the back of this. I can't see anyone really in political circles achieving, getting that argument off the ground, nor can I see one political party taking on another one about how this scandal has happened. It's going to happen sort of outside politics, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, probably. And obviously, responsible politicians are always limited in what they can say by judicial and police processes. That's not to say, obviously, this won't have political ramifications, or some of the conviction Republicans, with a small r, not in the US sense, in British politics won't want to seize on this in some way, or won't think they have a moral duty to seize on it. Zach Polanski and the Greens are in favour of a transition to a democratically elected head of state. But even for left-wingers, Jeremy Corbyn took a very similar stance when he was Labour leader. Regardless of their personal views, sort of major constitutional changes sort of in the too difficult box. It's not necessarily, if you survey public opinion, anything like a slam dunk electoral proposition. Indeed, it's a sort of minority view in British politics. Look, if that shifts, maybe someone like Zach Polanski will take up that mantle. But these people have an instinctive feel for public opinion, and I think there's a sense that we'd maybe like to change that thing at one point, but it's not a focus. But if it doesn't go away, I think we will have some sort of open discussion, and particularly we might hear criticism of the new Labour government's historic role in making Andrew a trade envoy in the first place, which is what this police investigation, the public office was the trade envoyship he was appointed to by the government of Tony Blair. So it's not without politics, this row, but a big political row over the nature of our constitution we may be waiting some time for.